Okay, this is going to be a demonstration on how I'm putting the V-rails on the extrusions. I'm certainly not an expert unless you count having to redo it because I made a mistake the first time, which does certainly give one experience and a lot of knowledge. So here's what I did on the second round, and so far it seems like it's probably going to be okay. I start out always with some notes as to exactly where everything's supposed to be and which pieces I'm using. For the demonstration, I'm only using a couple of pieces of scrap that I have. I'm not actually going to glue it up, but I will certainly go through the motions for you. So I usually also make sure that the materials are all exactly what they're supposed to be by measuring them out and verifying that I have the correct parts and pieces. The next part is where are we actually going to place the rails. So I go ahead and mark right on the rail here what it is, how far in I'm going to come. So I'm going to come in 92 millimeters up there, and when I do the bottom one it's going to be 58. This is the measurements that we use for the x-axis. Now that I know what the numbers are and I'm not going to lose track of them, I go ahead and measure in the 92 millimeters and make a very general and broad mark where that 92 is going to fall. We're going to be more precise here with it, or more accurate, in just a moment. And down here it's going to be at the 58. So we'll go ahead and I'm just making a little mark here. And I'm just using an ordinary permanent marker on this. A dark one works best because we're going to scribe it here in just a second. And when we do, we will want to be able to see where the scribe mark is. So now I'm going to go back and I'm going to scribe these. So the first thing I'm going to do is set up my ruler again, my tape, and this top one is at 92. So I'm going to set this knife blade or razor blade right on the 92, and I'm just going to cut a line right through the blue area. Hopefully you can see that on the video. On this one, we're going to do the same thing, only at 58. Now these marks are actually going to do two things for us. They are going to, number one, give us a visual representation of where the piece is supposed to be. And the other is it provides a little bit of a lip. There's just a little bit of a burr from cutting it. It provides just a little bit of a lip so you know exactly where to set this down and where it'll be in the right spot once you start. Now, I also went ahead and measured out on my real pieces. I went ahead and measured out the total distance down for each of these. For example, the bottom one is 635. Actually, I didn't measure it. I used the piece itself and simply marked down here at the end, where it's going to fall. Obviously, this piece isn't as long as we need, but I'm going to go ahead and, in this case, all I'm going to do is scribe it. It's not so much for the visual for when we're putting it on, but when we put the glue on, we'll know how far to have it come. So I just put that up against the end of it and make a line. Again, on the video that may be very difficult to see, but when you're sitting here it's really not too bad. So let's assume that I've got everything ready to go, and I have cleaned this and I give it another quick inspection, and I don't know what the light will do to the video, but I go ahead this time and actually look with a high-powered light right on it to make sure that there aren't any little pieces of dirt or anything else that are stuck to it that would get in the way. So once we know that's clean, and I look down here to make sure that this is also clean, you can turn the light off, and now it's time to put the glue on. Now the way I interpreted the original instructions was that we would put the glue on this flat surface, on the flat part of the rail. And that's what I did the very first time. But I found that then when you have to go to pick it up and you have to manipulate it, turn it around and get it in position, you end up getting glue on your fingers, which then distracts your attention, and you don't necessarily get things down, and you can't use the fingers that already have the glue on them because you're going to stick to things, and it just causes problems. So on this round, I did something different. I went ahead and just placed glue on the flat surface of this rail. Now maybe that's what was intended originally. I just didn't originally read it that way. So before I put the glue on, I'm going to practice. And what I would do is figure out, okay, here's the way I'm going to lay it down. Once the glue's there, I'm going to visually get this down here, and I'm going to feel where that groove is that I made, and then I'm going to lay this down, slide it back and forth just a time or two, and I can feel it hit the mark. And then we're just going to practice how I'm going to hold it on here. Here's why you want to practice. It's real easy the first time you go to do this to grab it and say, I'm going to squeeze that in really hard, and there it goes. It slips right off. Now you got glue everywhere. You got to pick it up. Again, you're going to get it all over your fingers. You're going to get it on your work, and it's going to be difficult to deal with. So you want to practice being able to hold this down, and I move back and forth. Still did it by moving the rail. I move back and forth